Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're uh, really zeroing in on a role that's pretty vital for any team running smoothly,
Mm.
the assistant supervisor.
hmm
And, instead of just like guessing what the job involves,
hmm
we dug into something quite revealing the typical interview questions they ask for this role.
Yeah, that's a smart way to look at it.
It feels like these questions almost give you a hidden blueprint,
Yeah.
for what good team leadership and just managing the day-to-day really looks like.
Exactly. Because these aren't just, abstract ideas. They're basically snapshots of the actual challenges, the core things someone in that seat deals with constantly.
Right.
So, our aim here for this deep dive is to kind of peel back the layers on those questions, look beyond the surface.
Ooh, okay.
By doing that, hopefully you'll get a much clearer picture of what actually makes an assistant supervisor effective. Whether you're maybe thinking about leadership yourself or just want to work better with supervisors, or heck, even if you just find team dynamics interesting.
Yeah, lots of people do.
There's some really valuable stuff in here, I think.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Straight away, these interview questions really hammer home the need for supervisory experience.
Definitely.
But it sounds like it's not just about having the title on your CV, is it?
Yeah.
It's like more practical than that.
Precisely. It's about, have you actually done the work? Have you coordinated schedules, delegated tasks, taken some ownership for how a team does, even if it wasn't like a formal supervisor job. Maybe you were a team lead or mentored someone.
Ah, okay. So informal leadership counts too.
Big time. These questions are really trying to gauge if you're proactive. Can you spot ways to help the team do better? Can you give useful feedback? Can you help people grow?
Right.
So the main takeaway really is that good supervision is about actively, guiding the team forward, not just overseeing.
Guiding, yeah, that makes sense. And well, guiding a team means you're going to run into disagreements sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Conflict resolution seems to pop up a lot in these questions.
Oh yeah, it's a big one.
So what's the sort of expected approach there?
What's interesting is the focus isn't just on smoothing things over. It's about finding the root cause.
Ah, okay. Digging deeper.
Exactly. They expect you to act fast, but also to really listen, understand why there's friction, what are the underlying issues.
Not just the surface argument.
Right. And then you facilitate an open chat, get people talking honestly to find a fix that actually works for everyone involved. The goal ultimately is keeping things positive and productive. That's a key part of the job, according to these questions.
Maintaining that environment.
Okay.
That makes a lot of sense, tackling the why. Now, another constant pressure, let's be honest, is hitting deadlines and juggling tasks. How do assistant supervisors handle prioritization, time management?
Yeah, crucial stuff. The core skill here seems to be telling the difference between what's screaming loudest, the urgent stuff, and what's actually most important strategically.
The classic urgent versus important matrix.
Kind of, yeah. And it's about breaking big things down, into manageable steps, making a realistic schedule. But, and this is important, it's not set in stone.
Right, things change.
Exactly. So the questions also stress being clear with the team about what the priorities are and being ready to, pivot, adjust the plan when inevitably something comes up. It's managing time, sure, but also managing expectations and workflow.
So you need to be strategic, but also, like, really flexible. Nimble.
That's a good word for it, nimble.
Okay. Another huge piece of this leadership puzzle is motivation, right? Keeping the team engaged. What kinds of strategies do these questions hint at?
Well, what's really interesting is that it's not just one thing, it's layered.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing what each person is good at, their individual strengths, and actually using that. It's about celebrating wins, the small ones too, not just the massive project completions.
Yeah, acknowledging effort.
Definitely. And offering chances to learn and grow, giving people development opportunities. But fundamentally, these questions really point towards leading by example and making sure every single person feels like their contribution matters, that they're valued. That seems to be a huge driver.
I like that focus. Seeing the individual, not just the team unit. Okay, now, sometimes maybe inefficiency is the problem, not motivation directly. I saw a question pop up about improving processes. What's the insight there?
Yeah. This one really gets at the value of being proactive about fixing things that aren't working smoothly.
Okay.
The example they often use or that comes up is like a reporting workflow that's clunky, and the supervisor introduces, say, a shared checklist system.
Right, something concrete.
Exactly, and the key is showing the impact. Like if you can say, this made reporting 20% faster and cut errors, that really demonstrates the value. It shows you can spot problems and actually implement practical solutions that make a difference.
Yeah, numbers talk, don't they? Quantifiable results. Okay, building on that, how do they actually make sure those crucial deadlines get met consistently? It's one thing to prioritize, another to deliver.
True, it seems to be a whole cycle, really. It starts with being crystal clear about what's expected for each task.
Setting expectations up front.
Right. And then smartly matching tasks to people's skills, setting them up for success, Then regular check-ins, not micromanaging, but just quick, informal chats.
Like taking the temperature.
Sort of, yeah. It helps you spot potential roadblocks early. Then you can step in with support or resources before it becomes a big delay. The idea is to anticipate problems and deal with them proactively.
So setting the stage, then actively monitoring and supporting.
Ah.
Now, if you combine all this, the task management, the motivation, hitting deadlines, what kind of overall leadership style seems to work best for an assistant supervisor based on these questions?
The vibe you definitely get is that a collaborative style is really highly valued.
Collaborative, okay. What does that look like in practice?
It means involving the team in decisions when it makes sense, not making every call from on high,
Yeah.
actively encouraging feedback, wanting to hear what they think,
Even if it's critical.
especially if it's constructive, yeah. And it means offering guidance, but also giving people some autonomy, some space to figure out how they do their work.
Right, not dictating every single step.
Exactly. The big takeaway seems to be that when people feel their input matters, it builds trust. And that really boosts performance and buy-in across the board.
Yeah, that made total sense.
Oh, wow.
Ownership drives engagement. But, okay, what happens when, despite trying all these positive things, someone on the team is still struggling, still not meeting expectations? How should they handle underperformance?
Yeah, that's always tough. The approach suggested is direct but also supportive.
Okay.
The key is starting with a private chat. Try to understand why they're struggling, what are the challenges.
Get their side of the story.
Absolutely. Then you set really clear, measurable expectations for improvement. Offer help, resources, training, whatever they need, and then you monitor their progress consistently.
And if that doesn't work?
Well, the questions acknowledge that sometimes, you have to move to more formal steps following
Yeah.
the company's procedures, warnings, and potentially escalation. But the first goal is always improvement and support.
Right, a balance of support and accountability. Okay, let's shift focus slightly. What about the supervisors themselves? They've got pressures too, right, reporting upwards.
Yeah.
How do they manage stress, especially when things get hectic?
Yeah, good point. The ability to just stay organized, stay focused, and crucially stay calm under pressure seems paramount.
Easier said than done sometimes.
Oh, definitely. But effective prioritization becomes absolutely vital then.
Right.
And knowing how and when to delegate effectively, to spread the load. Another technique highlighted is breaking down those huge, overwhelming tasks into smaller, more manageable chunks. It helps reduce that feeling of being swamped. Basically, it's about maintaining clarity and composure even when things are intense.
A calm, structured approach amidst the chaos.
Oh.
Got it. Communication, obviously vital. What specific communication strategies do these questions tend to highlight?
The big emphasis is on keeping the lines of communication open, consistently.
How so?
Things like regular team meetings, not just for updates, but for discussion. Providing timely information about projects, changes, anything relevant, and really fostering a culture where feedback flows both ways, encouraging people to speak up.
So it's not just top-down info dumps.
No, definitely not. The key insight seems to be that genuine two-way communication builds trust, makes sure everyone's on the same page, and helps you catch potential issues early. It's preventative in a way.
Proactive communication. Yeah, I see that pattern.
Yeah.
Okay, now for a tougher one. Sometimes disciplinary action is necessary. How should an assistant supervisor approach that?
Right. The scenarios and the questions usually push towards addressing the specific behavior, not the person, and doing it privately.
Okay, discretion is key.
Absolutely. And clearly explaining the impact of that behavior on the team, on the work, but also critically listening to the employee's perspective. Why did it happen?
So understand before judging.
Exactly. The goal isn't really punishment. It's about working out a corrective plan together. And hopefully, as the questions often imply, seeing a positive change result from it.
Addressing the issue. Finding a path forward. Okay, what about when deadlines aren't just tight, they're like, right now? Those really high-pressure
Yeah.
moments.
Yeah, crunch time. In those situations, rule number one seems to be stay calm, don't panic.
Okay.
Then it's about super quick, accurate assessment, what absolutely has to get done, what's essential, and then allocating resources, people, time really efficiently to those critical tasks.
Laser focus.
Total laser focus, making sure the team understands the urgency and concentrates only on the highest impact activities. It's about decisive action, really.
Makes sense. Cut out the noise. Focus on the vital stuff. Now, flipping it around, when they're asked about their own strengths, what qualities usually stand out for good assistant supervisors based on these interview questions?
Several things tend to come up repeatedly. Strong communication is always there. Leading by example, demonstrating the work ethic you expect.
Walk the talk.
Exactly. Problem-solving skills are essential for navigating all those daily hurdles, and strong organizational skills, managing tasks, people, resources effectively, these really feel like the bedrock qualities.
Yeah, those all sound like core leadership skills, definitely.
Mhm.
Let's dig into delegation a bit more. It sounds simple, just give someone a task. I bet there's more to it. What are the nuances?
Oh, for sure. Effective delegation isn't just offloading work, it's strategic. It's about matching the task to the right person, considering their skills, their strengths, even their current workload.
So it's personalized.
Ideally, yes. And it means giving really clear instructions, setting realistic deadlines, and then this is important, trusting them to actually do it, giving them some autonomy.
But still being available.
Absolutely. You need to be there for guidance, for support if they need it, but without hovering, without micromanaging. It's about empowering them, but with a safety net.
Empowerment with support. I like that. Now, supervisors get feedback too, right? Good and bad. How should they ideally receive feedback?
The key mindset seems to be seeing it as a growth opportunity. Always.
Even the tough feedback.
Especially the tough feedback, viewing it as valuable information for getting better. So that means really listening, asking questions to make sure you understand, and then actually doing something with it, making changes, improving. It's about embracing that continuous improvement idea.
Yeah, that attitude feels critical. And, of course, the team's overall success hinges on teamwork. How do these questions suggest an assistant supervisor should actually promote that?
It's about actively creating the conditions for it. So encouraging collaboration between team members, not just supervisor to employee. Celebrating the team's wins, the collective achievements builds that shared identity.
Reinforces the we.
Exactly. And making sure everyone's really clear on their own role and how it fits into the bigger picture, how it contributes to the team's goals. It's about fostering that sense of shared responsibility and mutual support.
Creating that we're all in this together feeling. Okay, but what if, despite best efforts, a big deadline is missed? How should they respond then?
First step, according to the common answers, is an honest look at why. What actually caused it? No finger pointing, just analysis.
Understand the root cause again.
Yes. Then, taking responsibility where it's due, that builds trust. After that, it's about clear, open communication with whoever is affected, stakeholders, clients, other teams. And crucially, putting concrete steps in place to prevent it from happening again, showing you've learned from it.
Learning from mistakes, demonstrating accountability. Got it. Another really practical thing, schedules. Shift work, different availabilities. How do they navigate scheduling conflicts?
Fairness seems to be the watchword here. Fairness, transparency, and lots of communication. It involves trying to accommodate preferences and availability as much as possible, while obviously making sure the work gets covered. Sometimes rotating the less popular shifts or tasks can help keep things feeling equitable. It's a balancing act.
Yeah, balancing needs and fairness. That sounds tricky, but important for morale. Okay, nearly there. In this kind of role, bridging management and the team, making sure everyone follows company policies must be pretty central.
Oh, absolutely. It's a core function. Assistant supervisors need to stay current on all the relevant policies themselves, then make sure that the team knows about them, understands them, communicate any updates clearly, and then, monitor compliance through check-ins, observation. And if someone isn't following policy, address it promptly, consistently, following the proper procedures.
So they're kind of the guardians of policy on the ground level.
In many ways, yes. Making sure everyone's operating within the right framework.
Right. Okay, last question we looked at was that classic interview closer. Why do you want this job? Why an assistant supervisor? What kind of motivations seem to land well?
The answers that tend to resonate are the ones that show genuine intrinsic motivation.
Like what?
Like really enjoying guiding people, helping them develop, finding satisfaction in sorting out operational problems, making things run smoother, having a clear desire to grow as a leader yourself, and wanting to help the company succeed by making your team effective. It shows you're interested in the leadership aspect, not just, a step up the ladder.
Got it. It's about the substance of the role.
Yeah.
Okay, let's try and pull this all together. It's really clear that being an assistant supervisor isn't just one thing. It's multifaceted. Demands a whole toolkit of skills, leadership, communication, problem solving, managing teams.
Absolutely. And what these interview questions really show us is that doing it well isn't just about having technical skills. It's about the approach, being thoughtful, proactive, focusing on the people, how you handle all those different challenges and opportunities that come with leading a team. They really do give you a great framework for understanding effective leadership, honestly, at any level.
Yeah, they really do. So here's a final thought for you listening. Maybe consider how these ideas, clear communication, tackling problems head on, motivating people, collaborating, handling conflict, well, how might they apply in your own life? Doesn't matter what your job title is.
Good point.
Which of these areas really strikes a chord with you right now? Thinking about your own work, your own teams, your own goals, maybe just picking one or two of these principles and thinking about how you could apply them. Perhaps that can make a real difference in how you collaborate and get things done. Something to mull over.